we're at the last presentation of the day, our short day. This is well, Friday's kind of a short day too, but very important. And hopefully, so here's the question. Has it been fun? Yes. Have you asked some questions of someone that you didn't otherwise have access to? Because that was your assignment, remember? I'm going to check regularly throughout this whole thing. So cool. And the Best Buy facilities. Agree. Absolutely. Are you kidding? Yeah, and we go straight from this into the idea. So here's what we're doing for the rest of this time. I'm going to do a little discussion and this community of communities that I was talking about that is so important for us, and sort of the new age of what we're doing, which means we're working together more than ever before. In my opinion, it's what's required. And then we'll leave from this conversation into that little mixer where we do get to go and find the people we just heard from and make connections into these organizations that we're going to talk about, which is really the point. And that mixer will be, short, but it's and the whole thing was, it's cold outside because last year at this time when I had this conference, it was literally 15 below with a 70-degree feels like temperature because of the wind chill. It was incredible. And today it's 40 something sunny out. So anyway, Minnesota, it's okay. And 40, I know doesn't sound warm to some of you people, but oh my God, it's extremely warm for us right now. Okay, so we are gonna, I don't need to stand over there. So here I am again. We met this morning. We've met many times along the way. I hope the sessions have gone well. I have been trying to run around and check them all, and hopefully things are going okay. If they're not, obviously, come and talk to me or to your track captains or whoever. Sorry, I'm gonna go around here because this is where my water is. Okay, so who are these people and why are they here? One of the things that I was making a pretty big effort for, because I am a natural connector. I mean, that is one of my, when you get those buttons that says, are you a connector? Are you a I don't know, a cargo, well, what? Driver, well, I'd have to say I'm that too. So I had all the buttons, but connecting is really important. And as business architects, in the front of all this, we were just in Oliver's session where he was talking about the important stuff that's happening in the world, in sustainability, in the effect of technology on the world, and in the effect of technology when our businesses are saying we want to do a thing, and we have to be the ones to say, wait a minute, something feels like it needs to be investigated there. That data center you think needs to be set up is going to burn down 7 forests. We probably don't want to do that. We want to do something that you're going to be able to face in a few years, and you're still going to sustain whatever strategies you're after. We have a really hard job because we have to know a lot of stuff. First of all, that's my first point. And because I always talk about we need a lot of stuff. We don't need to go deep in a lot of stuff, but we need to know contextually. If you read my little message that I wrote in the program, it says, we understand that contextually everything matters to everything, but not necessarily right now, right? But it matters, and we need to be the ones to say, this matters. Is it something that I need to call out? In the alternatives presented, in the recommendations presented, as Neil was talking about this morning. So these are the thing is when we have that challenge of knowing all this stuff, sustainability impacts, political impacts, markets, people power, labor, all the things that we have to recognize that a business may not be able to accomplish the thing that it wants to do because it can't build the capability they want because it's just simply not available, or it's going to cost them a fortune, all those things. Those are the things we do. Okay, those are the things I do, and I hope you do. And if you don't, we should talk, because we really do need to be leaning in to the role we have and the value we can provide. Put a pin in that. So what I thought, well, and then the other thing is, historically, we have a tendency or an inclination or the nudging to sort of draw a boundary versus seek high collaboration. And I'm going to say that in a different way. We are, and I'm going to credit a little bit of my friend Jason and some other people that I talked to at the Chief Architect Network meeting in Dallas this last, whenever it was, September, I guess. And I said, we got to do the role definition. We have to really clarify. There's enterprise architecture, business architects are within that, all this, and we keep talking about it. What do you do? I do this part, I do this part, listen to me. The fact is, we just need to show up and do what we know how to do. And I'm kind of over myself in that conversation. Remember that conversation? And there, actually, Dan was there. I don't know where Dan Hebda is, and the other people that were in that conversation. Joseph was there. But we were talking about this, and I was like, listen, I think, do what we've always done and expect a different result. We know the definition. We know that where that equation takes us. But the fact is, we need to think and act and work differently. So I'm a big fan of looking for the helpers. I'm a big fan of leaning in to the people that are doing like similar adjacent affinity work. That's these people. So that's why I brought these people together, because to my great gratitude, I could reach out to people and say, will you come and talk? And they said yes. That's how important this community is to these people. Really, really, really good. And we want to appreciate them. Okay, I'm going to go through and I'm going to tell you who they all are, and they're going to have a chance to talk about themselves and the communities that they represent. But this is the community of communities. These are there are more, I'm sure, but these are the ones I think of immediately when I think of where business architecture flourishes, where we create and add value, and where we're going in the future. And some of them are just ready for us to lean into. Some of them have long history. We just need to keep showing up and talking and showing what we can do. And that's the whole point. Okay, I got the layup. We're starting, Stacy. Did you know you're first? It's right here. Okay, so I'm going to tell a little story about each of these people. Some of it's long, some of it's bigger than others. But Stacy Volkrot-Mello and I met at Cargill. Stacy is a process wizard, very interested in the field of architecture and thinking like an architect. Immediately, Stacy and I agreed she thinks like an architect. And I said, yeah, you're for sure process architect, call yourself that. It wasn't an official domain of architecture at Cargill, but we made it that because it was really, really important. And when you think like an architect, then you're thinking like an architect. So, formalized in TOGAF or not doesn't really matter. What matters is doing the work. So Stacy and I are that long of friends, 8 years or something. And we, and she started a relationship, started a community building activity with APQC. A lot of people go to APQC, if you know the organization, she'll speak to it, to identify capabilities, to start their business architecture journey, their mapping. We've had some interesting debates about whether process equals capability, and I'm happy to just take that on in the hallway if you'd like. But it doesn't mean that they're not both critically important. They're not the same, but they're absolutely essential to each other. Value stream, capability, process, right? And I think we all kind of conceptually get where that all fits. But Stacy started this just recently, started this community, and talked APQC into supporting it and funding it, and it was fantastic. These are the builders. These are the ones we want to know about. So Stacy, if you would talk about who you are, what you've done, what you have in the APQC space, and just give us a little bit of Stacy magic.
Sure. Thank you, Linda. And it's a pleasure to be here. This is my first conference. I'm super impressed. And I love the opening messages around collaborating, that we all have a role to play, and we can play that role so much better by integrating the work that each one of us does in our respective domains. So thank you for this opportunity. I currently am at Cargill. I've been there this is my 21st year. I've had a lot of different roles. I've led some ERP program deployments. I've worked in sales and marketing. I've done some innovation work. I spent time in our shared services organization, but really my passion is around process. I see the world as an ecosystem, the benefit of which is one where we're all connected. And as Linda mentioned, we had many conversations about the importance of process as part of an architecture framework. And I'm a firm believer, and I continue to champion architects at our own organization and the important role that they play, despite the fact that we've had some challenging times with our architecture teams. So Linda mentioned that I have recently embarked in partnership with representatives from Target and General Mills on convincing the American Productivity and Quality Center to support the establishment of a community here within the Twin Cities. And if I can just step back for a moment and provide you with some information about the American Productivity and Quality Center. So back in the early 70s, there was an entrepreneur and business leader in Houston that was concerned about the productivity of many American businesses at the time. And his thought was, I need to do something to improve the competitiveness of organizations in the United States. And so in 1977, established what we now know as the American Productivity and Quality Center. What's unique about that is it is a nonprofit, which I think speaks volumes about how interested they are in educating and informing their members and really sharing best practices across organizations. They now currently serve the globe. They've had many training opportunities across the globe, and many of their client or member organizations are represented now outside the United States. They have an annual conference every year in Houston, and my colleagues from General Mills and Target, who we continued to meet in Houston, scratched our heads and said, why are we having to go to Houston to have these discussions? Why aren't we establishing a community here with many of you and your organizations to, again, share best practices and build process and performance management improvements in our own organizations? So as Linda said, we're relatively new. We just had our launch party in October. We've embarked on a monthly newsletter. Our second is going out this month. And over the next couple of months, we will be sponsoring both virtual and in-person training opportunities for people who are interested in process management and performance management. So I suspect that although you're architects, you may be a solution architect, a data architect, we are related. And we would love to have you as part of our community. And so hopefully on the screen behind me, there's an opportunity to connect with us. We welcome it, and we look forward to having further discussions and collaboration opportunities.
You bet. We're at least siblings, for sure. So what we will do, so the what we're going to do next as far as TCPF goes, I will keep these contacts up, and we will make sure that those events and those potentially even co-branded, but those events are happening in our community. We're all aware, and we extend this way. We have to extend this way because we are all smarter together. And the community, I think, as I said in my message, the power of community, the community of communities, is where we want to be. So thank you for that opening. Now I know we're alphabetical, so I'm thinking I've got A, C, change, or Minnesota. I mean, so anyway, we'll see who comes up next. Oh, it's Jason. It's ASUG. So our ASUG, and Jason will explain this, but that's the SAP user community, and it's real big and it's real important. And you've already heard my commitment to trying to help people who are making successful transformations with that product space. Next year, it might be a different product space that we focus on. But the fact is, we're here. This is an important relationship, and Jason Porterfield is going to speak to it.
Good afternoon. My name is Jason Porterfield. I do work at SAP at the moment. I also just celebrated the 9th. Yeah, laugh. Keep it good.
Nice, healthy attitude there,
Yep.
Jason.
I have a bulletproof vest on underneath this jacket. But I am an architect at heart. I just celebrated the 9th renewal of Architecture Digest
Oh,
because I do not have the guts to tell my mother that the December issue with the top 100 most creative homes in the United States has nothing to do with my job. And since she got me that subscription, I'm going to renew it every year. So, but I'm an architect at heart, regardless of what my employee badge says. ASUG, the America's SAP User Group, is a fantastic organization. If you are involved, if you are a customer of SAP or you're a company considering SAP, I encourage you to get involved. ASUG is about helping everybody be successful with their investments. All right, unlock that power and the business capabilities that they need to drive their business forward and to do it successfully. I've been associated with ASUG as both an SAP sponsor, as a partner, and as a customer when I worked in industry, and that organization saved my bacon more than once when I needed content and expertise, and sometimes just downright very blunt, candid answers that I couldn't get anywhere else. Right. Fantastic community. It also enabled us to apply pressure to, well, SAP about certain things we did or didn't like, right, and influence the product roadmaps. So I'm a big fan of community. I love to connect. And ASUG is, I think, one of the best groups I'm familiar with out there. 36 chapters across the United States. Lots of opportunities to expand your network. So
now speaking to what we're going to lean into for 26, again, this is not the first time I've talked to these people. The conversation with the ASUG organization has gone to Jeff and his team who lead the organization, and to Ranjit and Mihal and other people who are have been talking about how do we bring an architecture first conference gathering along with a track around SAP, and how do we bring that to other parts of the country. We are having these conversations, and we will lean into ASUG to help to use the structure, the network that's already there. And it's because, and so it wouldn't be SAP. I mean, they have their own stuff. I mean, SAP can do their own stuff. What we would have is an architecture. I'm looking at Paul because it's going to be super tied up with Paul as well. But an architecture perspective like this, TCBAF, with maybe it's a 2-track, and we have one architecture, and then the second track is focused specifically on business transformation and architecture, and it's in coordination and collaboration with ASUG. We don't know yet, but these are things we're talking about because we need to get better this way, right? Because we don't need to all lift individually. We need to lift together. And so these are conversations that are happening. So thank you, Jason, for being here. Anyone that wants to talk to Jason about any of that, or a lot of other people here, over cocoa, that'll happen next. Okay, let's see who comes up next. It's like spin the dial. Angela, because it's beta. So we're in the B's now. And so this, so I have to say something about this. I personally am a business coach for startup organizations. I believe so emotionally in helping new, passionate ideas take hold and not be the 80% that die. And so I think business architecture is absolutely essential. The right amount, the right dosing, the right conversation, know your audience, know who you're talking to, don't overwhelm, but we have to help people understand when they're trying to take a brilliant idea forward, because they're all brilliant ideas at some point. Well, no, they're not, but whatever, we'll say that. But we need someone to be able to tell them it's not a brilliant idea, but maybe if you thought about it this way, it might be. That's that coach, that's that business architect, and making those resources available to the phases of a startup, because there's a lot of them, and if you don't understand the life cycle in startup and incubation and what beta pays attention to, which Anne is going to speak to, they fall off, they die along the way. And then let's do something to reduce the number from 80% to something less than that. That I'm pretty passionate about that, and I know it works. I've personally done private equity work. I've personally done some of these things that I think we could really make a big difference. So that's why I invited Angela, and we're looking forward to a very rich relationship going forward.
Thank you, Linda. Hope I'm not sounding.
You're not, you're right. I don't know what happened to it.
I don't either. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so Beta is, we work with founders, and we are very founder-centric in the ecosystem for startups in the Twin Cities. And so there's a large network of startup community, and it involves investors, mentors, various accelerators, and many of them are industry specific, and they're all, many of them are equity, they take an equity stake. And so there is a lot of filtering that happens, as you might imagine, in the startup space, following the money. And Beta is unlike that. We actually are an open door for founders who are, we don't take an equity stake, we are a nonprofit, and we're inviting more ideas, more founders to come into that ecosystem to offer their talent, their ideas, their brilliance, and we really want to get behind them and their leadership and their uniqueness. And we just want to see them flourish. And so we do a lot of connecting to that ecosystem. We've been operating for 14 years, and we've held large-scale events. Twin Cities Startup Week is the most known, which is held, it's a 5-day event held in the fall. And we also have State of the State event that happens at the end of Q1. And so we've had different forms of convening to cast a net of community integration, networking, and mentoring, all of the things that founders need to be successful, to launch their ideas, to create their pitch decks, to go out into that ecosystem and be able to build their business. And so in 2026, we are going through a lot of growth. We're also thinking about, all the changes in technology. We are very heavy technology founder organizations. So most of the companies that have come through have been SaaS technology, but we are seeing a lot more across various industries. So I think with AI, there's like every industry, we're going to be seeing a lot of different ideas coming through, a lot of growth there. And we're very excited about that. And just thinking through the different challenges that AI brings in is that timing and the pacing of how you build your business, how you get your data, how you're tracking, getting to know, defining your customer. Our accelerator that we offer 2 times a year, it's a 12-week program, will help them do all of that learning and doing it within communities so they're not alone in that process, and really being able to activate across a wider community of feedback, mentoring, and people that can just really give them that healthy look at their business and give them the feedback they need. So that's in a nutshell what we're up to. And like Linda said, our next big event will be likely early March for State of the State. We are collaborating hopefully with Medical Alley. And so both organizations have an accelerator program. Medical Alley is focused on med tech and health tech. And we have a wider net of learning capability within our accelerator. And so we're excited to kind of give that bigger overview effect of the startup economy and the state of the pulse check of the state when it comes to the startup economy in Minnesota. And then we'll be able to do a deeper dive into the healthcare, future of healthcare in March. So that's what's coming up, and would love to have you follow us and support the founders in Minnesota.
Thank you, Angela. And same, you will be hearing more from me about our weaving in to that, the footprint. The footprint of a startup is different than a footprint of an enterprise, established corporation, multi-year, right? But anyway, it's a very exciting place to work when you're really helping someone to avoid a big mistake. or to position themselves for growth, or to not overlook something that maybe could have been an opportunity. And so we will be, obviously invite you to get involved in these organizations, but we will also be, I just said to Angela, maybe our summer summit in June focuses on collaboration, co-brand with Beta. Don't know. But anyway, that's not going to go away because I have a lot of interest in that one. I have a lot of interest in every single one of these. I bet Can's next.
Let's see.
You're right. All right, Chief Architect Network. I went back and finally remembered to find my PIN. Proud member of the Chief Architect Network. Try to do some facilitation of the business architecture channel in that space, although I will say that I've been fairly absent because I've been doing this thing. But I'm going to get back into it. But Grant, longtime friend, actually board member of TCBF, a great advocate and supporter. Our relationship with the Chief Architect Network is rock solid, and we're going to do more. And so, Grant, you want to tell us about it?
Yeah, it's first just an amazing honor to be here. I'm surrounded by people that all have and share the same values. You think you really hit it like, perfectly the way you talked about the mentorship and the support you get from the community. I'm hearing it from each of us as a theme. It's so awesome, right? Like when I'm in an environment like this is like the best part of professionalism to me. Paul sitting in the crowd here is doing the same thing. You see him around the world with his flag, right? It's all about connecting people, bringing people together into the meaning and finding common ground and having a partner to move forward with. In this environment right now, things are changing faster than they ever have. Dramatic pause. And they'll never move this slow again, right? That's stolen from Michael Butts, and he actually had the dramatic pause, delivered it way better than me. But that's true when you really think about it. Like it is only accelerating. It's only more, it's only faster, right? So that's how it's been our whole lives. It's how it's been our whole society. We can't even see research firms keeping up these days, right? And I'm a big fan of research firms. I believe that Gartner, Forrester, I've got a lot of friends. Charlie's amazing, right? It's difficult because by the time the research comes out now, some of those trends have already taken shape. So how do we get ahead of this? Well, we get ahead of it by finding colleagues, the same thing they do in an ASUG, right? Where we go, what are you seeing? What are you seeing in this agentic AI space? You can't go download a paper and make a perfect agentic solution today. You've got to figure it out. So that's what this group's all about. And you throw a rock, you'll hit 6 architecture organizations. There wasn't one for architect executive practice leaders, right? If you're leading a group of architects, it's a little difficult to find your peers. It was either come to this dinner to meet your peers. Oh wait, we're really going to actually tell you about these amazing timeshares in Florida. You got to check them out, right? Or we would find ourselves in a very detail-oriented conversation that was interesting, but was difficult for us to resonate with. So we filled the void and we created this group together. And there's a lot of folks running around with pins because I literally am obsessed with them. If I just give them to people constantly, Linda, you just should talk to me. I'd be like, here's 6, right? Like, that's just how I am. But the group is really founded around that shared challenge of finding our way in emerging technology in a difficult career path. You know, we see architecture and other strategic functions reset every so often. So our goal is to figure that out. Like how do we figure out we're using the wrong checklist when the organization has moved to something new before we're now the cog in the system that's stopping the organization from transforming how they want to grow next. So we can learn from each other and hopefully create a more stable job for everyone in this room, right? That we can get better as architecture practice leaders, then everyone wins. So I'm just absolutely thrilled and honored that we have about almost 600 folks now globally, all the way from New Zealand to Hawaii, the long way. About 400 of those are US and maybe 1 to 200 in Europe, and then the rest is in the balance of the globe. And the things we're really focused on right now is looking at all of our conversations last year. It was all about AI and strategy, right? We see those two, business architecture, strategy. Like Linda won the 2005 award, first ever CAN Award winner for being the strongest practice leader in our group. And amazing to have that happen in the year of the 15th anniversary of TCBF. EAF, and having spent a decade with you, it's incredibly well deserved. And that's another great thing we can do. We can recognize each other, peers, right? Figure this thing out and let's lift each other up, and we'll create partnerships with the research firms and actually help them create research that can be shared and elevate the voice of the architecture community in doing so. And we can create event partnerships, and we can become the voices in those rooms. So people can go, oh, architects are people that have interesting things to say. Maybe I should look into having some of those in my organization. So really, it's about elevating all of us and bringing us together and make us more effective in the work we do together. I can talk forever about this, but a lot of the things you mentioned around finding each other when we need one another, job finding, job search and things like that, we help each other there too. It's all baked in, and that's what I think we have a common thread across this whole group, and why I'm so honored and so just excited, Linda, that you had the thought of like bringing this community of communities conversation together. Sorry I talked too long. I just love this topic.
Perfect. You got time. We're good. You know,
All right.
If it's valuable, we'll keep talking about it.
Drum roll. Who's next?
Well, I know because I did the alphabet. It's going to be Delvin. Now, I have something to say about Delvin. And the organization that he heads. So I was a business analyst way back. So I started, contrary to Neil's path, if you saw Neil's session this morning, and if you didn't, I'm sorry, because it was amazing. But Neil started on the technology side. I started on the business side. I was in the finance organization. I have a degree in economics, communication, and literature. So anyway, but it's important. Liberal arts are important, especially if you're an architect. But so I started out in the finance side as a financial analyst for the regional comptroller at Prudential. Just had the opportunity to work in a giant company where I popped around all over the place. Didn't make my own path. It was made for me by all the people that wanted to give me opportunities, and I was finding things and all that. Got into tons of stuff. Got recruited or selected to go join the technology organization as a technology partner because there was no such thing as a business analyst. I know, this is a long time ago, but we started the business analysis practice. And because we believed in requirements, we knew you can't do technology without first identifying your business requirements. So it is in my soul. And so I've always been a part of IABA. I was one of the people who helped to craft the very first chapter 9 or whatever it was of the BABOK that said, here's what business architecture is. And so the relationship for me has never been gone or weak. It's always been major. And not every business analyst grows up to be a business architect. Not every business architect deserves to be a business analyst. I mean, there are different people, and they're complementary, and they're super important. But the reason that when I talk to Delvin to say, listen, we got to bring these organizations together because these people can help each other. And he's got an enormous footprint. We've got a pretty big footprint, and it doesn't make sense that we're not helping each other. So anyway, he can talk about that way better than me, but that's why Delvin's here. And he's a really important person to this conversation. There you go.
Thanks, Lynn, and thanks for having me here today. It's been great to meet some of you. I was thinking this morning when Neil was talking about architecture as the craft maybe of speaking truth to power. Business analysis might be the craft of figuring out what that truth is. And I think it's one of the things that I've learned in my time with IABA, that there's such a huge need, particularly in the world that we're in right now, and this has been a theme that's probably gone through almost every conversation that's gone on today, of figuring out what the real sort of, if you want to call it, the business truth is that's going on. So one of the problems in the AI world that we're all now in is that truth is harder to figure out. It's harder to size, it's harder to calibrate. And I think, I have the privilege of working for this organization, in some ways probably also the ultimate sort of imposter syndrome roles, because a lot of the business analysis community are quiet, committed. They don't usually become CEOs. They don't often make big speeches. You have to sort of drag them to the front of the room. And we talk a lot internally about having sort of professional courage to stand up in business conversations and say, I think I know what's going on here, or I think I can bring the people together that can help us navigate this problem or define this issue or size this opportunity or do those kinds of things. And that's a lot of what we try to do. And I think that there's some numbers up on screen there, that it's an interesting profession because it's all over the world. And a lot of it is sort of people who sort of find each other and go, I'm doing the same thing that you're doing. And what does this look like? And as Linda said, it's young. It's probably only a little over 20 years or so, depending on what part of the world you look at, of trying to create a language around sort of the foundation of a lot of the work that you are needing and using and harvesting in the work that you do at a more strategic level in a lot of organizations. So that's kind of the privilege that I have. We steward the intellectual property of business analysis, run certifications and some of the normal things that you would expect in a profession. But we also do one thing that I found really interesting when I first came to IIBA that's a little bit unique. It's not completely unique. We have a lot of business partnerships around the world, around just under 300 of them right now we have some academic partners and training partners, but we have about 300 corporate partners now who are really organizations that we work with at a more structured level to help their teams get better, to help them be equipped, help them develop credentialing if that's something that's important, help connect them to our communities and our chapters around the world and all those kinds of things. So happy to talk further with any of you if it might make sense in the organizations that you're working into to get a little more information and share how we can help in some of the work that you're doing.
And I could just go same. Delvin and I will not end this conversation here. We will just start this conversation here. And it's really, really important. And everyone automatically thinks career pathing. But it's really not even just that. There's so much in the handshake. There's so much in the handshake. And business analysis has, similarly to a lot of roles, it's kind of ebbed and flowed, and I look around at a lot of organizations and I'm like, where are your business analysts? Because no one is paying attention to what you actually need from a requirement standpoint in this program or project or whatever. Then you get project managers who are now product owners who are not doing it either because they're trained to execute. They're not trained to dig in. I'm just saying. So we have to be good stewards. We have to be good stewards of all of this and make sure that we're, whatever we call it, however we do it. But the idea that that all of these things are required regardless of what they're called. And you can fail big if you don't acknowledge some of the things that are required when you're doing work. And we've seen it over and over again. So IIBA, no kidding. Delvin and I are going to be talking. You're going to be seeing some stuff. And the collaboration is going to be there. Maybe in each of these cases will certainly take slightly different forms, but we will not let go of this community of communities. Okay, rounding us out is someone I just met not very long ago. But a long time ago, I was a member of the Minnesota Change Management Network, went over to St. Thomas to some meetings and because as a business analyst, as a consultant, which I am also, and the idea that everything is change. I mean, every project is change. Every work item is change. And if it's not, then you didn't do anything. I mean, so there is a change element to everything. So we should all be interested in the topic. So especially business architects, especially the people who are out in front trying to lean into what are we going to take forward? How do we illuminate what's happening here and then get to the next thing we need to go to? So I met Jamie and Heidi Dorman is the one that put me on to Jamie, and then I got to Sherry. And Sherry is here representing Minnesota Change Management Network, and she's going to tell you about herself and what we got going on. Oh, sorry, there's her. That's Sherry.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Linda. All right. My professional brain will sleep better tonight, having had the opportunity to talk about organizational change management with a bunch of business architects. So thank you for the opportunity. As Linda said, I'm a board member of the Minnesota Change Management Network. Professionally, I spend my time helping large organizations through huge transformations, focusing on really the people, right? People have to use what you all are building. But I want to talk a little bit about the Minnesota Change Management Network. little over a decade ago, a group of us got together and said, hey, we'd like to be we would like a chapter of the Association of Change Management Professionals to be here in Minneapolis. We spent a lot of time trying to make that happen and just couldn't. The Midwest chapter is headquartered in Chicago and it was going to stay there. So a group of us said, hey, we can probably make this happen locally. We have a lot of Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies right here. We also have a lot of consultants, and this is a hotbed for business and for change management. So we have evolved over the last many years into an organization that is really focused on advocating for, and my words, being a support network for people who do this kind of work. We are about 150, 200, almost 200 members strong locally, mostly in the Twin Cities, had some outstate members who I think have since left since COVID. But our mission is really to really facilitate, advocate, and educate on organizational change management. We hold monthly forums, alternate from an in-person to a virtual on alternating months. I invite you to check us out, come to one of our events, email me or scan the code. I'm happy to take any of you as a guest to one of our events and see if it fits your kind of style and what you like to be involved in. But I would encourage you, we are all change managers. We talked about that in our session today, and this could be an opportunity for y'all to learn a little bit about how to do that. You don't have to be an expert, but when you come to work and you try to talk people into, right, what you're trying to do, it does take some art, and that's around change management. So I encourage you to give us check us out, reach out to me directly. And like I said, I'm happy to bring you as a guest if you want to just come and see what we're all about. So with that, thank you so much for the time. This has been an amazing opportunity. And Linda, hats off. What a great forum. So thank you.
Thank you. And I think when Sherry and I first talked, I don't know which one of us said it, but I think I have a real problem with when you're doing your project management plan, your work breakdown structure or something, and it says change management, like it's a task. And you check the box and like done with that. It's like business analysis or something like that. And it's just ridiculous because that's not what it is. And we need to help people understand that's not what it is. It is all over everything. It's like we need to be thinkers around how we're driving change. Everything that happens in an organization needs to improve a capability, or it should not be happening. And everything requires change to make that improvement. Period. Lovely to debate that with you, but I have some things that I'm just really sure of, even though I mostly believe in uncertainty. I also have a story that's going to fly off of Jason's, which is the Architectural Digest thing. So we just recently built a porch at our lake place. And some of you, anyone who's talked to me has heard about that because took so long and I was like, oh my God, I want my porch done. And it was pounding in my office and stuff like that for a really long time. My husband, who's a retired contractor, a general contractor, but also knows how to build things, and his brother, two old guys, built it. So of course I had to be generous and say, oh, let's just see, it might take 6 months, I guess. I don't know. And be sure to go to lunch and come back. And if I work 3 hours a day, we never would have ever had anything in our lives. But okay, you guys just do that. Anyway, that was okay because they did a beautiful job and it's done now in time for winter. But anyway, I had some friends visiting. We had some friends out to the lake, and the gentleman of the couple is an architect, and he does hotels and big footprint things. And so we were showing him the porch that was near completion, or maybe was, I don't know. And I was saying, yeah, well, I decided to do this and I decided to do that. And then I wanted it to look like it worked, but I wanted it to look like a porch because it's over on the woods side of the, blah, 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 blah. And so I was pointing out a few of the things, and we did the transom window because that would be good. And he stopped me, looked at me, he goes, you should be an architect. This is really good. And I'm like, well, You should be an architect. Thank you very much. Anyway, so it was kind of funny. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, thanks. I'll consider that, starting to build hotels next. I didn't have it yet. I don't think I had it yet, or I would have. I said, well, let me tell you what I do. Anyway, yep.
I thought it was really funny. A change management organization stopped you from driving a change. Clearly, you're very good at this.
Nice. Okay, we are going to have a time for questions, and then we're going to go and have your one-on-one questions. Does anyone have a question for this group? Anything specific? I mean, we're going to engage. You know how to engage. You know them now. You have. Anytime you're part, you're all part of this community, and they are all part of this community. You are invited. Don't tell. You're invited to reach them. Please do. You're invited to reach them and say, I have a question about. Boy, I had a hard time trying to figure out the requirements on the thing, and I didn't know how to do business analysis and whatever. I mean, and Delvin might say, well, you should talk to your local representative. But I mean, I don't know what you'd say. But the point is you are welcome to connect with these people. You now have access to people that you might not have otherwise had access to, and that is what we are about. So who has a question now that you don't want to save for the mixer? Yep, Scott. Oh, wait, who? Bill? I can't see anything.
Linda, I think you're spot on. I mean, all these folks here, many of them flew in to be here because they believe in this. The reason they're here, the reason I'm here, is we'd like to be accessible to this community. It's a really important group.
Linda, one thing I've been thinking about, where does strategy fit into this group?
Not here yet.
Not here. Okay, well, answer my question.
Yeah.
Well, strategy is to me.
I mean, yeah, I take that back. So if you've been listening, we are strategic. They are strategic. There are strategic thinkers here in every seat in this room. If you're too tactical, too literal, you're not going to be a successful business architect. You're not going to be a successful leader. You got to be all the things. So the time of unicorns is here. That you can shift from big picture and doing stuff. But so the reason I answered the way I did is there are strategy organizations and associations and books of knowledge and stuff. And some of us know more about some of those than others. I think it's a pretty, I think there's not one is one of my challenges. If I think IABA, I know exactly who that is, right? Of course, we have the Minnesota chapter. We have chapters all over the place. If I think ASUG, we can go to the person. We think strategy. There's a lot of different organizations that represents. So it's probably going to be something I do that is going to be a panel of strategy organizations that would then be that community of communities. I don't know that I can pick one. And now, happy to talk about that, happy to have you help me there. But that's the answer. Just not there yet.
Thank you.
But super important.
And I think each of the people sitting at this table, starting a new business, understanding driving change comes from strategy, TCBAF, strategy to execution with Wendy Keene, right? We're all touching that space. I think you're spot on. There's a lot of variation in a lot of different organizations.
Architects cannot afford not to be strategists.
Right, we can't.
And this question's kind of for the group. I was a big customer involved in ASUG, which before COVID meant, preparing year round for Sapphire presentations, for presentations at key conferences. A lot of us are preparing our customers for that. But then COVID kind of changed the game and a lot of this stuff went virtual. Now we're doing a lot of event-based stuff. I've been involved in a number of AI hackathons recently where you get people on the ground learning the technology, which really seems to increase the rate of transformation. Do any of you see through ASUG, through some of these other organizations, other new ways? Are we innovating the way that we work together in these mentorship communities? or are we going to be falling back to the regular conference cycle a little bit more? Any thoughts?
So we're struggling with that a little bit, truthfully, I think, in our organization, because we were always all in person, then we went to virtual. And we struggle with our membership saying, if we do it in person, then people say, well, we can't come at 4:00 on a Thursday. And then we do it virtual. People say, I really feel better if we connect. So because we alternate every month, we feel like that's a good balance right now to do. Then you kind of catch people who don't want to drive across town or be in person. But we are also looking at how do we connect more often, maybe with smaller groups maybe there's a special interest group we're trying to launch to people who are interested in healthcare, people who are interested in only technology. So we're trying to find some niches within our organization so that we can connect more frequently, maybe with smaller groups of people.
I think some activities. So a few years ago, and I didn't know Sherry then, but a few years ago, we actually had a track that is the change management track at our conference. It was the last year, I think, that we did Cargill before the COVID thing happened. And so similar to how we featured the SAP platform, we featured change management. And we had the Heidi and some others were presenting, because Heidi was on the board at the time. They presented in the track, and we talked about weaving it all together. So can we insert and weave together? Can we show up at, I don't know, Delvin BBC or something else? Can we business architects go and speak at chapter meetings for IIBA and help to bring along awareness of this stuff? That's what we want to do, and it's on us to do it. It's not do we just fall back? Well, I don't know, do we, or do we move it forward? And that is our decision, because we have the connections. We just need to make those happen. If I can, when I get around to after this is all over and I'm talking to Jason or Jeff Scott again, and I say, okay, business architecture is going to show up at your next ASUG meeting in Topeka. Okay, great. And I'm going to do some sessions. So now we've got a merger. Now we've got the ecosystem that's activating more. Not that you're not already talking about architecture, but we're going to juice that, right? We're going to bring that forward and do an architecture first, not an SAP first, which is different and matters to have that different perspective. So there's all those opportunities. We just got to make them happen. And the message is we have the connections to make that happen. Jason, you're going to say something about this.
Similar to what you were saying, Linda, I hope the answer is we keep pushing for more, for different. People are inherently social beings. Most of us, we want to get together. We want to see each other, shake hands, break bread. It's a shame if we just end up, if we're there now, we end up there in the near future where it's just back to PowerPoints, and more PowerPoints. I like my PowerPoint skills, but they're not that critical to my self-identity. Hackathons, gamification, how can we continue to be creative so that the communities we're trying to build, maintain, grow are inspired and they want to continue to come back? Right.
Yeah, and I think it's showing up at each other's stuff. I do think it's leveraging the network instead of each of us tackling our own thing over and over and over again. I've been talking to Paul. I'm going to go to Newtown Square for the March, I think it's March, right? February. Oh, I would have missed it. I'm going to go in February, and we're going to talk about business architecture. And I'll probably be wearing a TCBF badge, right? Because we want to talk about it. We want to make sure that we're present at each other's stuff. And that's putting on something like this, putting on what Paul does, putting on what any of these people do, is tremendously taxing. It takes a lot of effort. Leveraging each other, leveraging the events, leveraging where something makes sense, getting together around a topic. That's what we want to do. Sure.
I just want to say one more thing on that, because we are seeing an increase in invitations to other conferences, right? So there are other conferences that are adjacent to what we do, similar to this, and just even locally, we operate locally, this organization that I'm a member of, but we are seeing a lot more, hey, come and talk to us about what you do, because we think we share some of the same ideas, or we need to share some of the same ideas. We share some of the same projects. So I do think we're seeing a lot more of that collaboration and kind of cross-pollination, which is really exciting.
I guarantee in 2026, I'm going to do some business architecture sessions at Delvin's organization and at Angela's organization and at Stacy's new startup. And I'll get Sherry too. I haven't talked to her about it yet, but I can. So it's up to us. That's all I'm gonna
One
do.
thing I think we can all do that we're doing in CAN is we can meet up as our community at other places. Like what we were doing is who's going to symposium.
This happens.
We all meet up, right? Like who's going to this? And if there's enough of us, let's make a dinner at that event. So some of the things we can do is create the connection to bring us together organically where we're already, especially when it's an international or a national organization. When it's local, still works, right? Who's going to the beta event? Let's all meet up and have our IBA event at beta, right? So
that, but who will speak? Because you've got a room full of people who are very, very smart people. And these guys who lead organizations who have very, very smart people, and you just filled your whole roster of presenters.
we did that. We have 10 of us here today, right? And we're going to do dinner tonight. So like that to me is something I think is super helpful that kind of does it addresses some of the challenges we've had in the disruption COVID introduced and what was a pretty solid cadence of the same thing.
Yeah.
And I'd love to add to that because founders particularly really need to be around people because they are building something very uncertain for all of us. They're building new business, founding something they're working in uncertainty all the time. And the thing about technology innovation is that you have to be communicating with people very fast track. And if you're not connecting with people in real time, it's very difficult to get the context and the data points that you really need to move your business forward effectively and timely in this market. So we hold all of our accelerators, classes, everything in person, and all of our events are critical for the founders to get out of their houses, out of their home offices, out of to get around people. And so we have co-working space at the startup Twin Ignition Garage in Northeast Minneapolis. And, these are co-working, these are intentional spaces to bring people together. So I would say thumbs up to in person.
Yeah, to get the vibe. Okay, we're going to stop now, and you're going to take your questions for all these people and everyone else to the Cocoa Bar. And we're only just a really quick, we're only doing a short mixer today. You all can go try to catch a little bit of this balmy weather if it's still out there. Tomorrow, we have a full day. We start at 8:30 is breakfast, 9 o'clock kickoff. Be here for the day. There will be a full breakfast buffet, so come in and have your breakfast. And then tomorrow after the session, after the day ends, we'll be going to the Weston Galleria for a whole reception, a whole hosted reception that our SAP friends are generously providing for us. And then we'll talk about Friday after that. But so today, little short time just to make sure we make the connections we need to make, and then everyone's back here tomorrow morning. Let's hear it for our friends.